Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. Thank you so much for clicking on the video. In today's video, we are going over the top 5 best bleed weapons in Elden Ring, the best of the best S tier category. Quick shout out to our sponsor AOE.com. If you don't have time to grind for items or runes and you want items real quick, use my code COLD for 3% off. In my last video, we went over the top 5 best faith weapons in Elden Ring. If you missed this video for whatever reason, I will put a link at the top of the screen right now. Out of all the builds in Elden Ring, I honestly have to say that bleed builds are probably your best option. This is because most enemies and bosses in the game have no resistance to blood loss whatsoever. After testing many bleed weapons in Elden Ring, I came to a conclusion and narrowed it down to 5 weapons that I personally believe are the best options. The first weapon on our list today, probably one of the top 3 weapons in Elden Ring, is the Rivers of Blood Katana. Not only does this weapon have one of the most consistent Ashes of War in the game, Corpse Piler, but it's also one of the strongest and most reliable bleed weapons in the game. As you progress through the story and you get to the mountaintop of the giants, you will eventually get to an area that has a church called the Church of Repose. At this location, you will be invaded by the Bloody Finger Okina. After defeating this enemy, you will be rewarded with the Rivers of Blood Katana. You can see here we are level 250. I'm currently in New Game Plus 7. We have 30 Strength, 80 Dexterity, and 80 Arcane. Our Rivers of Blood Katana is fully maxed out plus 10. We have 186 plus 271 physical attack power. What's great about this weapon, it also does fire damage, which is great for enemies that are weak against fire. 186 plus 105 fire damage. Attribute scaling heavily favors dexterity over anything, but keep in mind we also get that additional 78 blood loss buildup. Attributes required to use this weapon, you need at least 12 strength, 18 dexterity, and 20 arcane. The main reason this weapon is so good is the Corpse Piler weapon art that you are seeing in the gameplay footage. The Corpse Piler skill forms a blade of cursed blood for repeated, interweaving successive attacks. Honestly, for any bleed build, I highly recommend using the white mask. The reason you want to use this mask is because it slightly raises attack power when there's blood loss in the vicinity. The best talismans to use for the Rivers of Blood Katana includes the Shard of Alexander, which greatly boosts the attack power of your Corpse Piler skill. We also have the Rotten Winged Sword Insignia, which greatly raises attack power with successive attacks. The Lord of Blood's Exaltation, blood loss in vicinity increases attack power. And last but not least, the Green Turtle Talisman, which raises stamina recovery speed. For your wondrous physic mix, I highly recommend using the Flame Shrouding Crack tier, which temporarily boosts fire attacks. If you guys remember, the Rivers of Blood Katana also does fire damage. This pairs very well with the Cerulean Hidden tier, which eliminates all FP consumption. The second weapon on our list today is ELEONORA'S Poleblade. I have to say this Twinblade has one of the coolest weapon arts in Elden Ring called the Bloodblade Dance. Now, even though this weapon doesn't have the best attribute scaling, I still believe it is one of the best bleed weapon options in Elden Ring. One of my favorite things about the Bloodblade Dance weapon art is the ability to create some distance after you finish your attack. This weapon allows for an extremely fast time to kill, very fast blood loss, and a decent amount of range because it is a twin blade. To get ELEONORA'S Poleblade, you need to complete Bloody Finger Hunter Yura's questline. You do have to follow a couple steps, and just for the sake of time, I will put a link in the description below for every single weapon that we go over in today's video. As you can see, we're level 250. We have 30 strength, 80 dexterity, and 80 arcane on this build. We have ELEONORA'S Poleblade fully maxed out plus 10. Our physical attack power is 176 plus 219. Just like the Rivers of Blood Katana, this weapon also does fire damage, 176 plus 90. Attribute scaling heavily favors dexterity. We also have arcane scaling at D. Attributes required to use this weapon, you need at least 12 strength, 21 dexterity, and 19 arcane. This weapon also gives us 83 blood loss buildup. As I mentioned previously, the white mask is definitely a good option if you want more damage on your bleed builds. The Shard of Alexander is the first talisman we are using. This is going to greatly boost the attack power of our skill. We have the Rotten Wing Sword Insignia, which greatly raises attack power with successive attacks. The Lord of Blood's Exaltation, blood loss in the vicinity increases attack power. And last but not least, we have the Green Turtle Talisman, which raises our stamina recovery speed. For the Wondrous Physic mix, I recommend using the Flame Shrouding Crack tier, which is going to temporarily boost your fire attacks. This pairs very nicely with the Cerulean Hidden tier, which eliminates all FP consumption. The third bleed weapon on our list today is the Scavengers Curved Sword. I have to say, guys, this weapon works incredibly well for bleed builds, and honestly, it is one of my favorite weapons in Elden Ring. When you dual wield curved swords, you get an incredible moveset, and it's one of the main reasons why I love using these weapons so much. You can perform a very quick lunge attack that is difficult for your enemies to dodge. Also, you can stack blood loss very quickly with your jump attacks. In order to find a scavenger sword, you will need to travel to Mount Gelmir. Once you reach the first Mount Gelmir campsite, and you will eventually cross a stone pillar bridge. The scavenger sword will be found on a corpse at this location right here. Keep in mind, if you want 2 scavenger swords, another player is either going to have to drop it for you, or you have to get to your second playthrough and pick up another one. The absolute best Ash of War, in my opinion, to use for the scavenger sword is the Bloodhound Step. This is going to make you very agile and extremely deadly. I also recommend using the Blood Affinity to give you the most amount of blood loss possible. At level 250 with 30 strength, 80 dexterity, and 80 arcane, we have 215 plus 321 physical attack power. This weapon scales evenly with both strength and dexterity, and also we have 115 blood loss buildup for each of our scavenger swords. When you are using these scavenger swords as your weapons, I recommend using the White Mask, which is going to increase your attack power when blood loss is in the vicinity. I also recommend using the Raptor's Black Feathers, which is going to strengthen your jump attacks. For the talismans, I recommend using the Claw Talisman, which is going to enhance your jump attacks even further, and yes, this is going to stack with the Raptor's Black Feathers. I'm also using the Rotten Wing Sword Insignia, which is going to greatly raise the attack power with successive attacks. We also have the Lord of Blood's Exaltation. Blood loss in the vicinity increases our attack power. And last but not least, the Green Turtle Talisman, which is going to raise our stamina recovery speed. For your Wondrous Physic mix, I recommend using the Green Burst Crystal tier, which is going to temporarily boost stamina recovery speed. This pairs very well with the Thorny Crag tier, which is going to temporarily boost successive attack power. The fourth weapon on our list today is the Godskin Peeler Twinblade. The reason this Twinblade is so amazing for bleed builds is because it has incredible dexterity scaling and insane amounts of blood loss buildup. Similar to the scavenger swords that we already went over, this weapon is also going to require a second playthrough if you want to be able to dual wield it. But trust me guys, it is definitely worth it. These twin blades in particular are extremely reliable for bleed builds. You have incredible range, very fast melee attacks, and the most important thing, obviously, extremely fast blood loss buildup. The Godskin Peeler Twinblade can be found by heading to the Windmill Village from the Road of Inquinity, Site of Grace, until you reach a village with cheerfully dancing inhabitants. This Twinblade will be located at the windmill at the very top of the village. Once you reach this location, there will be a Godskin Apostle ambush boss fight. After defeating this boss, you will be rewarded with the Godskin Peeler Twinblade. I also recommend using the Bloodhound Step Ash of War on your Godskin Peeler Twinblades. Don't forget to use the Blood Affinity, which is going to give you 141 blood loss buildup for each of your twin blades. Just remember, to achieve this much blood loss buildup and this much physical attack power, you need at least 80 dexterity, 30 strength, and 80 arcane. You can see here we have 249 plus 361 physical attack power. This weapon heavily favors dexterity over anything for its attribute scaling. You also need at least 17 strength and 22 dexterity to use this weapon. And guys, honestly, 141 blood loss buildup is incredible, especially for endgame. For the twin blades, I recommend using the White Mask for additional damage. Also, the Raptor's black feathers work incredible with the Godskin Peeler Twinblades because the jump attack is extremely powerful. I'm using the Claw Talisman to further enhance our jump attacks, the Rotten Wing Sword Insignia, which is going to greatly raise attack power with successive attacks, the Lord of Blood's Exaltation, blood loss in the vicinity increases our attack power, and last but not least, the Green Turtle Talisman, which raises our stamina recovery speed. For the Wondrous Physic mix, I recommend using the Green Burst Crystal tier, which is going to temporarily boost stamina recovery speed. This pairs nicely with the Thorny Crack tier, which is going to temporarily boost successive attack power. The last lead weapon on our list today is Mohgwyns' Sacred Spear. I have to say, out of all the weapons on our list today, this weapon has the fastest blood loss buildup in Elden Ring. This weapon has a unique skill called the Blood Boon Ritual. Raise the Sacred Spear and pierce the body of the Formless Mother. Stab up to 3 times, creating explosions of blood with each thrust. This Sacred Spear works incredible against bosses, and one of the best things about this weapon, you don't even have to get close to your targets. The radius is actually really good. You can spam this attack over and over again, and as I mentioned previously, the blood loss buildup on this weapon is absolutely insane. If you want to get your hands on this weapon, you do have to fight one of the most difficult bosses in the game, Mohg, the Lord of Blood. I highly recommend using an intelligence build against this boss for the absolute best results. As you can see here, we have Mohgwyns' Sacred Spear fully maxed out, plus 10. We have 30 strength, 80 dexterity, and 80 arcane on this build. We have 235 plus 288 physical attack power. This weapon also does fire damage, 151 plus 103. Mohgwyns' Sacred Spear scales evenly with both strength and arcane. We have 92 blood loss buildup, and keep in mind, in order to use this weapon, you need at least 24 strength, 14 dexterity, and 27 arcane. The best talismans to use for this weapon includes the Shard of Alexander, which is going to greatly boost the attack power of the Blood Boon Ritual. We have the Ritual Sword Talisman, which is going to raise our attack power when HP is at maximum. The Lord of Blood's Exaltation, blood loss in vicinity increases attack power. And last but not least, since you're going to leave yourself exposed when you use the weapon skill, the Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman is going to enormously boost our physical damage negation. For the Wondrous Physic mix, I recommend using the Flame Shrouding Crag tier, which is going to temporarily boost fire attacks. This pairs nicely with the Cerulean Hidden tier, which eliminates all FP consumption. Well guys, that is my list for the top 5 bleed weapons in Elden Ring. If you enjoyed this video in any way, shape, or form, a thumbs up would be very much appreciated. Also, if you want to see more videos just like this one, be sure to subscribe to the channel, become a part of the family, and I will see you guys in the next video.